mom was the busiest woman in the 18th century. She was 23 when she became the ruling queen of Hungary, Croatia, and Bohemia. 6 years later, when my father became the king of Germany and the Holy Roman Empire, she became the empress. 1 year after they got married, in 1736, when my father was still just Duke of Lorraine, they had my eldest sister, Archduchess Maria Isabella, then Maria Anna the following year, followed by Maria Carolina, who died the next year. A year later, in 1741, their prayers were answered when my brother Joseph II was born. A year later, Maria Christina, Duchess of Teschen, was born. I can go on and on, because in 20 years she gave birth to 16 children, 5 archdukes and 11 archduchesses. While trying to rule a big part of Europe during that time, she was busy having children while raging wars, like the Polish Succession in 1733, 7-Year War in 1755. She once said, "I will fight the war myself if I am not with the child." She must want all of her girls to be like her, as she named all 11 of us Maria. People say she is cold-hearted, as she often treated her daughters as bargaining chips for diplomatic advantages. And yes, for that, I have Prince Albert of Saxony, Duke of Teschen, Ferdinand, Duke of Parma, Ferdinand the Fourth of Naples, and Sicily are all my brother-in-laws, while my brother Joseph II and Leopold II both became Holy Roman Emperors. Brother Ferdinand became Archduke of Austria, and my baby brother Maximilian became the ruler of Cologne. And me, the almost forgotten number 15, was destined to be the Queen of France at 14.
Antoinette, it's been so long since we've talked. Look how you've grown.
Thank you, Mama.
I asked you to come to me today because the King of France has asked for your hand in marriage. And
No.
I'm going to have to send you there.
No, Mama, please. I'm only 14. I don't want to leave you.
But it's your duty. We have things we have to do that we don't always want to. I wish you could stay with me, but your country needs you to go there.
Okay, Mama.
And you'll get to come home and visit, but you must marry him.
Okay.
We don't have a choice.
Like all my siblings, we adored and were afraid of our mother. My father may be the emperor, but my mother was the one running the show. She called me the little Madame Antoinette. I love music, but hate studying. People say that I like to have fun. I love to sing and dance, but hate to read and write. My personality is a sharp contrast to my sister Maria Carolina of Austria, who later became Queen Consort of Naples. She was just like my mother. Her marriage was supposed to strengthen the alliance with Spain, but after she gave birth to her first son, she was admitted to the Privy Council, which she dominated from 1775 to 1812. And as Queen of Naples and Sicily, she made Naples a police state after witnessing the horror of the French Revolution. And just like my mom, she had 16 children, including the Empress of Austria, Grand Duchess of Tuscany, Duke of Cambria, King of the Two Sicilies, Queen of Sardinia, and Maria Amelia, Queen of the French. I often wonder if things will be different had France asked for Maria Carolina instead of me. But Mom already used her for Austria-Spanish alliance 2 years earlier. So they picked me I was King Louis XV, decided to bury Old Hatchet with us by having his heir, Louis Augustin, Dauphin of France, to me. I was 14 and he was 15. It was a good match, but when my mother realized how hard it is to teach me French, I thought she may wish that she had chosen a different daughter. I had nothing to complain when I arrived to France. My French was still poor, but I only needed to smile most of the time, and everyone was taken by my beauty. But some decided to hate me before they even met me. With wars between France and the Roman empires dragged on over the past several centuries, alliances with Austria seemed like a bad idea, and me seemed like a mistake from the beginning. When I was at home in Vienna, the music capital of the world, I fell in love with dance and music. When I came to Paris, I fell in love with the food, the wine, the fashion, and the jewelry. My husband is nice and polite, but I guess he is not the main attraction. I guess he felt the same way towards me. After my betrothal, the hasty education my family prepared me for did not include the important part to provide certain services to my husband. And sadly, he has never learned that. During the first 7 years of our marriage, we thought kids will come naturally if we shared a bed. My inability to produce an heir made me look like a bad investment in the eyes of the French people. So my brother, Joseph, decided to pay us a visit. After a man-to-man talk, I got pregnant after King Louis's visit. 9 months after Joseph's visit, my daughter, Marie-Therese Charlotte, was born. After 7 long years as co-inhabitants, Louis and I became man and wife. But during this time, France helped us in a brief conflict for Bavarian succession. Long story short, my mother, who co-ruled with my brother Joseph of Bohemia, made France and Russia mediate a peace agreement. But the Treaty of Teschen seemed like the Austrian Habsburg monarchy land just grab at the cost of France. I have to say, it was not a good move. But who dare say no to my mother? However, from that day on, everyone thought I sided with Austria against France. People started to attack me on everything. I abandoned the heavy makeup and the wide hooped skirts. They hated me. I had to portray in this comfortable attire, and they called me that muslin dress. I joined an amateur play and some musicals, and they called me, saying that that was not queen-like. I know French debts were mounting against us, but what can I do? I brought a big dowry. Can't I spend some of my own money? I thought helping the Americans in their war against the British was a good idea. I even helped secure alliance with Austrian and Russian support to form an alliance against Great Britain. I never liked politics, but I told Louis what I saw, and he sometimes listened. But when something goes wrong, I get blamed for everything. In 1781, my brother Joseph came again. He came to strengthen the France and Austrian alliance. But people said I secretly gave him money. Are you kidding me? France was all but broke. My dowry was almost gone. How can I give anything? But as the rumors spread around, I had fewer and fewer friends and more enemies. I asked my brother Joseph to open the Scheldt River for France, boats to pass during the Kettle War. The payment Austria demanded is nothing considering the victory it brought. But the French people called us greedy. Then when I appointed Duchess de Poligent to the governess of Enfance de France, people called me all kinds of names. Despite my son, Louis-Joseph Xavier Francis, Dauphin of France, was born in 1781, the year before. Rumors, unrealistic, horrific, and made-up rumors about me started to go like wildfire. People said I had a lover, Axel von Franzen, and there are pamphlets talking about my facile séquelle d'audience. They called me a lesbian. It was so damaging. My mother asked about our ambassador to express our concerns over my safety. Like a sandbag for boxing practice, once people realized how much fun to punch me, they couldn't stop. I built a library, and they said it cost too much. I sported lifting bands on the play The Marriage of Farago. And when people failed to see that artistic value of the show, I was held responsible for ruining the image of the monarchy. Then in 1784, Louis bought me a house. It cost 7 million livres, and people felt betrayed. No one said a thing about Versailles was built, but when I bought a new home, it seemed like an unforgivable crime. On March 27th, 1785, my son Louis Charles, Duke of Normandy, was born. It was supposed to be at a time of joy, but it became a disaster because people said he is the love child of my lover Franzen's return, Axel von Franzen. Axel! He was brave, sweet, intelligent, very handsome. I think any girl would fall for a man like him. I liked him when I met him the first time, and I know he liked me. But we like each other because we respect each other. Do you think I would give all of that up to have some adulterous affair with him? I wasn't born with the freedom to love. I have to follow the path picked for me. Then I had my last child, poor Sophie Hélène Beatrice. She died 20 days before her first birthday. But she was the luckiest one of all of us, to die a princess, while the rest of her family died as prisoners. I can't say I'm perfect, but I am nothing like what the 18th century tabloids portrayed me as. Like the affair of the diamond necklace, when my grandfather-in-law, Louis XV of France, decided to give a special gift to his mistress in 1772. He asked Parisian jeweler Charles-Auguste Baumier to create a diamond necklace worth 14 million today. They decided to ask the new king, Louis XVI, in 1778, but I promptly refused. I told Louis we have more need for 74 ships than a necklace. Then, in 1781, they tried again, and I refused. Then the mistress of Cardinal de Rohan, who was not on my friends list because he spread rumors to my mother when he was in the French ambassador in Vienna. Jeanne knew Rohan wanted to gain Queen's trust and covet a minister position, so Jeanne told him that she can arrange meeting for him and me. Jeanne hired Nicole Legois de Olivia, a prostitute, who looked just like me. Then Jeanne made the cardinal believe the queen wanted him to help her buy the necklace for a good price. Cardinal Rohan believed some forged notes and fell in love with the fake queen. He bought the necklace, which was soon sold overseas. Then the merchant tried to collect debts when the second payment never came. The crime was so exciting, people loved to talk about it with added colors. Although I'm told I am innocent of the crime, I looked like I was greedy, adulterous woman that devours men in her path. Then, as France's financial conditions deteriorated even more, Louis tried to cut back and asked the Assembly of Notables to cooperate with the government spending. On February 22nd, 1787, the first meeting of such kind took place in 160 years. The assembly was a failure. I did not pass any reforms and instead fell into a pattern of defying the king. Then we changed one controller after another, but nothing works. You can't make money appear just like that, and you can't make your problems disappear. Louis asked the nobles to cut some of their privileges, but instead of cooperating, the nobles gave me the name Madame Deficit. Is that fair? Deficit? Maybe I should be called Defeat, as I become public enemy number 1 under the false accusations. I was not a woman to give up, so I started to repair my damaged image. I commissioned this painting so they can see we are not all devils. But the thief Jeanne escaped from prison. She claimed to be my lover. She claimed that I was the thief, not her. And the days before soap opera? What can be more fun than to listen to these gossips? Looking back, the young girl who wanted only to sing and dance was long gone. The fighting blood in me, probably from my strong-willed mother, started to surface. I helped Louis fight the many battles. The battles with nobles refusing to solve the financial crisis with us, the people who blamed the bread crisis on us, and the declining health of my son Dauphine. On June 4th, 1784, during this time, the king and I tried everything, but no one would give 1 inch when we faced a mile-deep deficit. When the king decided to harden his stand on the revolution, this only made the matters worse. And then when I suggested to crush the revolution with Swiss troops, riots started breaking out in Paris. In September 1791, we agreed the terms of the constitutional monarchy. On October 5th, we were forced to move to Tuileries Palace in Paris because Versailles was no longer safe. But now we were basically under house arrest. Despite our status changing from royals to inmates, I continued caring for my children and performed charity work. That was also the time when I realized my hidden diplomatic talent. I became friendly with Necker, the Prime Minister of France, during early revolution. I somehow convinced the warden Lafayette, the military leader in American Independence War who hated me wholeheartedly, to allow several meetings with Fersen. He even exiled the Duke of Orleans, who sided with the revolutionary, despite being the king's cousins and France's richest person. Of course, rumors never left me. Some rumors broke out about my affair with Lafayette. And then I was called a lesbian with the Lady Sophie Farrell from England. Then they said I had an incest relationship with my son. Even under this huge cloud of defamation, I managed to gain support of Mia Bia. I offered 600 livres per month and 1 million if he can restore the king. So for a while in 1790, things were looking up. We were allowed to go back to Paris. 300,000 people attended Fête de la Fériation. celebrating the fall of Bastille one year earlier. But when we were not allowed to attend Easter Mass, we realized those were all phantoms. We were just prisoners, and we must escape. The plan to reach the loyalist stronghold of Montmagny is called the Flight to Vernes. We were supposed to pose as the servants of the imaginary wealthy Russian baroness. We tried on the 21st of June in 1791, but the entire family was arrested within a day. The French people viewed this as a betrayal. We were isolated on our way back to Paris. I was so heartbroken, not only because I could not protect my children. My poor husband is now put down by his people. If my reputation was tarnished by gossip, can you imagine how bad it is now? People came to Champs-de-Mars, demanding the blood of the king. Troops opened fire, and then Lafayette, one person reluctantly protected us for the longest time, lost his reputation and post. Then I pinned my hope on my brother, Leopold, who just inherited the crown from my eldest brother Joseph in 1792. Leopold was willing to help, but he died in just 2 years. My nephew, Francis, decided to help us. Everyone knew we were in danger, but my dear friend, Princess de la Belle, who gave up her fortune and safe house in London, came back to be with us. She was brutally killed later. My trusted friend Fersen came to see me for the last time in February 1792. My nephew made good on his promise to help, which led France to declare war against Austria in April of 1792. That made me the enemy of the French people. When France suffered multiple defeats, they said I passed military secrets. And then Louis had to turn down several measures to further restrict our power. I thought we would survive the political storm, because a legislative assembly is still made up of 260 friendly lawmakers with only 136 radicals. The laws they passed were so radical, Louis vetoed them all. And then, on June 20th, in 1792, a mob of terrifying aspects broke in, made the king wear a red cap, and insulted me. Then I secretly asked Fersen to urge the foreign powers to help us. But the Brunswick Manifesto issued on July 25th, 1792 was the nail to our coffins. We were imprisoned on August 10th. Our Swiss guards were slaughtered. My best friend, Princess de la Belle, was taken and murdered. On September 21st, 1792, we were given the names of Capet, and France became a new republic. On June 15th, 1793, Louis was condemned to death, and they killed him on June 21st, 1793. I blame myself for many things. I should not have told him to veto those bills. We should have escaped earlier. You know, he followed every advice I gave him, and now he is dead. He has never done any harm to anyone. He was the nicest king ever. He does not deserve to die. But my son, Louis Charles, was still with me. He's in France's rightful king, and one day he will rebuild France. After the king's death, life was miserable. Guards would blow smoke to me. They laughed when I choked. They insulted my daughter, Elizabeth, and one day they decided to take my son away. During the Reign of Terror, Jacques Hubert decided to retain my 8-year-old son Louis XVII. They wanted him to be a part of the revolutionary force. Poor Louis. Seeing what happened to his father, he turned against me. When they transferred me to an isolated cell in Conciergerie, I bumped my head. The guard asked me, "Are you hurt?" And I told him, "Nothing. Nothing can hurt me now." My last chance to escape ended when coronation plot failed. I was pretty close, but some guards had no intention to help me escape when they accepted the bribe. Then my fate was set before the trial started in October 1793. During the trial, many unfounded but previous circulated rumors were used as allegation against me. It was useless to fight. But they made my son Louis Charles, my poor 8-year-old son, to accuse me of having incestuary relations with him. I refused to fight those charges. But I appealing to all those other mothers present in the room, I know they all hated me, but I know they know what happened. I want them to think how cruel and inhumane it is to turn your son against you. How it feels when you are accused of such crimes. Luckily, I was convicted of just the 3. I was convicted of just 3 crimes: depletion of the national treasury, conspiracy against the internal and external security of state, and high treason. That means no one believed the made-up false accusation of incest. Before my execution, I was forced to change clothes in front of the guards. I was put on a rope leash and put in an open cart facing the jeering crowd. I can't imagine what would have happened to my 2 young children. Louis Charles was put in a solitary cell with no food or care. He was forced to sign accusations against me, and his body was full of scars when he died. My daughter Marie Therese somehow survived and then married her cousin. She became Queen Consort of France. Yes, she was the Queen of France, just like me. Well, you see, fairy tales are not just fairy tales. Not all beautiful princesses and princes have a happy ending.